So I'm going to do a couple things with the Dakota today. With her trailer loading, she does have that tendency to not want to back off, and she's hesitant about that. So I just want to work on the backup itself. So we're going to do that first and just kind of reward her for backing up nice and gently. Like there, she backed up nicely in response to the rope pressure. So I'm going to click her while she's backing up and then give her a treat. So I want to work on that a little bit, and then she's going to back over a ground pole just to kind of get used to having a little bit of an obstacle in the way and actually pick her feet up because she does just kind of slide her feet on the ground. So I want her to actually pick them up and use them. That is not something she's super great at, so we're going to work on that. A little bit of a backup here. But yeah, you can see her normal backup. She is very responsive, but you can see those hind feet really slide back. So I should be working on actually having her pick them up and not really worried about how far she backs up. So she does back up nicely. I want to make sure that's intact first. And she's responding to the cue before I go ahead and ask her to back up over the ground pole here. So I'll go ahead and walk her forward over it so she knows it's there. And then I'll ask her to just kind of take one step back over it. And she's not going to understand like what it is first. Actually, she did decently. She went ahead and stepped over it with that right hind foot. So usually they're kind of, they'll wiggle a little bit, like she'll wiggle side to sides, and won't necessarily want to back over it, but she did really well there. Um, Backed both hind feet over it, so that looks really good. Have her come forward so she can use that foot and step up over it. There's the wiggle. Yeah, usually they get a little confused there, and the pole right directly behind them might make them a little bit nervous. So that's where that comes in, so they can kind of see it a little bit better. So I'm gonna back her up toward it a little bit more, give her a little bit more space. Like originally I just had her right after I had her go over it, she just had her stop, so she just had to take that one step over it. So now she has to take a couple more steps. There we go. So I'm gonna click as she picks that hind foot up over the ground pole and give her her reward. So yeah, you want to start off where she just has to do that one little step, and then I'll do more steps. There's that other hind foot. Very nice. So she actually did a lot better with this exercise than I thought she was going to do. Um, Usually there's a lot more wiggling in, like you saw a little bit there, but usually there's a lot more because they're like, oh no, I cannot back up over something. Usually that's not a thing horses do naturally. They go over things forward. They do very little backing up just in general, but especially not over top of things. So I just let her go have a little walk break and walk around those standards, and we'll go ahead and work on that a little bit more. So again, same setup, just split her over, take one step so that one step forward so that she just has to take that one step back. Here's a lot more wiggling. There we go. There's the foot. I should have clicked and fed that because she's still very wiggly. I shouldn't have worried about getting both feet at this point, especially now since the behavior's kind of deteriorated a bit. Whoop, and now we've kind of gotten into a mess. So that's a good example of me asking for too much. Breaking it down a little bit more, like I should be rewording this backup because this is hard for her. Just backing up towards something is difficult, let alone over something. And I just asked for too much, and she just like there was too much pressure, and she just couldn't do it. So she was offering other things, and that's where the hindquarters bumping the standard came from. There's that was better. We have that hind foot over the pole. I gave her a reward. Ask her for that left hind. And it's a little blurry, so we might have that. We might have a little bit of a wiggle here too. Um, Trying to get her. There we go. She's over it. Um, so she's not the most graceful. So I want to really work on that. But she is thinking about going over it forward, which I could reward her for that as well because I want to really click when that hoof is up over that pole. That's when I should be clicking. And even like just shaping it as she goes over there. She's really gotten it with that hind foot because that one I'm really rewarding better. I'm not rewarding as well on that other foot. And then there she kind of lifts it up, but then she kind of gets stuck and goes around it, and that's not what I'm looking for. Because this pole is a little short too. It's not a full pole. You can see it's kind of small there. I'm going to pull it against the standard so it doesn't slide over and have her try again here. And a little bit too much pressure because again she wants to wiggle around. This is just a lot for her. There, she's got that hind foot. There we go. Because I've been rewarding that right hind very consistently. That left one I wasn't as consistent with. And have her go ahead and back up with her front feet, which should be easier because she's pretty solid with those front feet. So we do need to work on that a little bit more and then work on it raised so that she can practice um, and have a little bit of something similar to backing on and off the trailer because that worries her quite a bit. We're just kind of working on our pivot here while we're at it. And then we're going to do a little bit of desensitizing to the fly sheet. So I don't believe she's ever been blanketed, so I do want to work on that. She's obviously had the saddle pad on and the saddle on, so I'm going to let her sniff it and then just kind of toss it up there just like the saddle pad is. So again, just like with all the things that I've been doing with her, I should have broken this down a little bit more. You can see that process with the Mustangs because they need a lot more time. She's not super worried about this. She's not showing me any body language that shows her to be worried about it. I could have left it folded for a little bit longer so it was more similar to a saddle pad, rewarded her, and then had her walk with it like that. But again, with her to have a tendency to move too quickly, and I'm like, oh, well, let's just put it on his blanket. Also, you can see Piper's series, a little Appaloosa mare named Piper. I had a whole desensitizing with the blanket because she was very worried about that. So if you want to check it out and have a little bit more in depth, you can watch her series as well, which I need to be updating here soon. But it is on YouTube. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the blanket kind of adjusted. It's maybe a little bit small for her. This is a different horse's blanket. She's a little bit thicker, but I don't think I'll necessarily be putting a fly sheet on her. She prefers to be naked. Like she's lived her whole life like on 100 acres, so that's kind of what she's used to. Like she's tolerant of it, and like she'll wear this and she'll wear a fly mask, but she'd rather not have any of those clothes on. So but I'm just buckling the front and kind of getting those belly straps to the right length and letting her walk around and get used to those. So I like to let her walk around with it just not attached in any way, just in case she was worried about it. She seemed fine. So I went ahead and attached the front straps. And now I will go ahead and do the belly straps. And obviously she's already had the girth on, so it is similar. But I'll go ahead and do it up and then let her walk around with it. Same process. And I'll click and reward her for walking around nicely with it on. And I want to have like a good um, association with the blanket as well. Like I want her to think wearing the blanket is fine, like it's comfortable for her. She gets rewards and it's not a big deal. I don't want it to be a big thing where she's worried about it or anything like that. But I mean, if she was turned out, I would get her a bigger blanket. This is just to make sure that she's cool with it. If it was really buggy one day, or like if I wanted to take her to show or something, and then preparation for her to wear a blanket in the winter. And I do desensitize her to a winter blanket separately because it is the same. Obviously, it's a blanket, but it is thicker, it's heavier, so it could be a little bit scary. And the winter blankets that I have are black, so they do look a little bit scarier versus this one. So I do a whole separate thing for that. But this is a preparation too. I would recommend doing the fly sheet first, just because it's lighter, it's easier to handle, it's less scary looking. But I let her go on that little lunge circle, see how she does, let her lead around a little bit. I just want her to move with it on because that's what she'd be doing with it in the pasture. So I want to make sure she's cool with just having it on and she doesn't seem worried about it in any way. So that's pretty good. That's definitely a bonus of her personality. I'll just go ahead and undo the belly straps and make sure that tail strap's not attached, and then I will take it off. But that was a good little session for her. Um, Doing a little bit of desensitizing and then working on those feet so we can build up to backing up the trailer. So if you need more steps, I would look at the blanketing process with the Mustangs and Piper.